Hi, my name is Serena. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, I talk about all things self-care and how you can implement self-care to really transform and change your life. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are a subscriber or a regular visitor, welcome back. And I want to encourage you to hit the subscribe button so that you can see every time I post and so that you can really benefit from the tips and advice that I'm going to be sharing with you in each of my videos. Also, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that more people can find my content and it can help them to implement positive change with regards to self-care to change their life as well. So today I'm going to talk to you about 5 barriers that sometimes can block your route to success and block you from achieving your goals. And I want to be able to give you some practical tips on how to overcome them. I think this comes under the category of personal self-care because it's all about you and your personal development. Are you ready? Let's go. So firstly, let's look at barrier number 1. And that is a statement or the thought that I am not good enough. Now, at some point in our lives, we have felt like we're not good enough at something. It could be that we might feel like I'm not attractive enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not creative enough, just I'm not good enough at something. And that can really block you from moving forward to reaching your goals because you just feel like, well, I'm not good enough to reach them, so I might as well give up. So the first thing I want to say to you is you are good enough. You are absolutely good enough. But there's some work to do to overcome that thinking. Now, not being good enough for me can fall under 2 categories, and it could be actual skill sets, like physical skill set or knowledge, or it could be confidence. So let's look at the first one of skill set and knowledge. So let me give you an example. Say that you are somebody who uses Canva and you've been creating, I don't know, little templates and things that you've been putting out on your social media platform. And people say to you, oh my gosh, you're really good, you should start designing. And you might think, oh, actually, I quite like design, but I only use Canva. I'm not good enough to be a designer. So that would have to do with your skill set. And I think that's quite easy to fix. All you would need to do is do a skills audit and see what you need in order to be good at a specific subject, topic, job, discipline, whatever it is. So do your skills audit, write down all the skills that you would need. So if it was a graphic designer, for example, if people were saying, oh, you should be a graphic designer because you're really good on Canva, you would look and think, okay, I can use Canva, but if I want to take the step up and be a graphic designer, I'm going to need to learn to use InDesign or Adobe or Photoshop, or there are specific programs, that's the word I'm looking for, programs that you would need to learn. So you make a list of everything that you need to learn, and then you start to look for those courses, and then you start to watch the tutorials on places like YouTube, and you look for courses to be able to upskill and to learn the knowledge that you have that will make you competent enough to be able to move forward with that goal. So if it's a skill, it's pretty easy to find a course or a tutorial or a video or a blog post on that particular skill that will give you the information that you need to upskill, and then you just need to practice. So if it's skill set, it's I feel like it's a little bit easier to solve. Now, if it's you feel like you're not good enough because of confidence, that takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more work, because oftentimes we're not confident because that feeling of not being confident and not being good enough has been built up over time. It could have been something that somebody said to you in your childhood, in your teenage years, or in adulthood, or in relationships, and you've internalized that. So that confidence needs to be built, and it takes a little bit more time. The first thing I would say is, if you haven't already done this, consider having some counseling or some therapy. The second thing I would do is start to think about, how can I build my confidence? So that kind of leads into the first point that we talked about, upskilling yourself, because if you start to learn a skill and you start to upskill and you start to study, you will automatically feel more confident because you're more competent. But if you're not feeling confident, then I would definitely say this is where self-care is paramount. You taking the time and the effort to look after yourself and really build your confidence through looking after yourself. A really simple way to start that is to look at your morning routine and your evening routine, look at your skincare routine, look at your hair care routine. Do things that are really nice for you. Be gentle with yourself and build yourself up, because that's going to build your confidence. Another thing that you can do is get a mentor, so somebody that can hold you accountable but also teach and support you. You could also decide to take a course in being confident. Yes, there are absolutely courses in being confident, or you could watch lots of videos on YouTube about being confident. There isn't any shame in that. A lot of us are not confident. A lot of people that you see in the public eye on stages singing, whatnot, they're not actually super confident, but they've learnt techniques to manage their nerves and manage their insecurities and push through so that they can achieve what they want to achieve, which means you can do the same. There's nothing spectacular about them that separates them from you in terms of putting in the effort to be able to make that positive change. So if you feel like you're not good enough because of confidence, I would definitely encourage you to seek some therapy or some counseling, get a mentor, really bolster your self-care routine, take a course in confidence. And you may also need to look at the people that you surround yourself with, so your friendship groups, your relationships, because some of those things, even your families, some of those things can drain you of confidence. So in order to overcome those barriers, identify where you're lacking in terms of skill or confidence, and then make an effort to find courses, resources, therapy, mentors, self-care, to be able to build and bolster that confidence so that you will no longer not feel good enough, and you can move forward with your goals and your dreams and break through that barrier and actually achieve them. Number 2, the next barrier that we are going to look at is, I don't have the time. So many people I've spoken to have said, Serena, I'd really like to do this, I'd like to create that, I'd like to learn this, I'd like to learn that, but I just don't have the time. And I get it, we live busy lives, especially if you live in a city, especially if you've got a family, especially if you've got a demanding job. Your time can seem like it just slips away from you each day, and we tell ourselves we just don't have enough time. I think with this barrier, you need to have a change of perspective, and you need to look at time as a currency. So how are you spending that? Now, when you think about spending, if you're spending money, you're careful with how you spend your money, or hopefully you should be careful with how you spend your money, because you want to get the best return on what you're spending that money on. It's the same with time. Now, we all have the same 24 hours each day. Time is this amazing gift from God. He gives us and he tops it up every day, 24 hours. But it's up to us how we spend that time. So I would highly recommend, if you feel like you don't have the time, doing a time audit. So looking at how you spend your time each day. And I would do that over a week. Actually get a piece of paper and every half an hour write down everything that you've done. And if you want to get even more detailed, you could do it like maybe every 10 minutes. I mean, that's a lot of work, but I think it's really worth it, because sometimes you'll be surprised at how much time you misspend, how much time you waste doing things that are not important, that are not enriching, but you just do them and then think that you don't have enough time. So I would do a time audit. I would look at how I'm spending my time over about a week, and then I would be able to identify, and you should be able to identify, pockets of time that you do actually have, that you can actually use to put things in place to reach your goals. If you are struggling with time management, so you do have time but you're just not managing it well, again, take a time management course or look for free resources on how to manage your time well. There are countless videos on YouTube. Again, people have blogged about this, people have written articles about this. So take that time. See what I did there? So take that time to do your research, learn about time management, look at how you're spending your time, do your time audit. And then once you realize, oh, well, actually, that 20 minutes that I sat chatting, gossiping to my colleague about Roy in finance, I didn't need to do that. That 20 minutes could have been me reading something about learning to be a blogger or something like that. And so you start to claw back the time, so that when you now look at your 24 hours that you have, you're using it more effectively, and time no longer becomes such a big barrier. Barrier number 3, I don't have enough money. Not having the money, financial constraints, whatever you want to call it, just not having the funds to be able to start or do the things that you want to do. I totally get it. Life is expensive. prices, inflation go up, and our wages do not follow that, and things get more expensive, especially if you have children like me. They're growing, they need new shoes, they need a new coat, they need everything. And it's like, my goodness, where do I find all the money for this? Especially if you only have one income. A lot of us only have like a main job. It can be really challenging. However, do not give up hope. There are ways to save money, and there are ways to make more money. Simple ways. I'm not talking about taking on a second job, but there are simple ways that you can save and make more money so that you have a greater amount in your pot to be able to do what you want to do. So the first thing I would advise people to do, and I usually advise people to do, is to look at all the things that they're subscribed to. A lot of us are subscribed to multiple platforms and channels, to gym memberships, to different products that we don't really need and we don't really use that often, but we subscribe to them. Cancel them. Go through all the subscriptions, and if you're not using it and you don't need it, cancel it. If you're subscribed to Netflix, but also Amazon Prime, but also Apple TV, Disney Plus, you don't need all those for. No, who has time to be watching all those programs? So you need to start ending or cancelling subscriptions that you have that you're not using, and taking some of that money back. Ending some of those subscriptions could save you 30, 40, 50, who knows, even £100+ a month. And that is a lot of money. That adds up. The second thing I would say is look into how you can make a little bit of extra money. Now, as I said, I'm not talking about a second job because that's a lot of responsibility, but small little side hustles here and there. So for example, I have an Etsy account and I've created some digital products and I sell them on there. Now, I don't push that, I don't promote it very heavily, so I don't have many sales, but I do have sales, and I literally have sales while I'm sleeping. And that's a little bit of extra money coming in. Sometimes I do questionnaires and surveys on different websites, and they pay me money for that time. So there's little things that you can do that bring in extra bits of money. Also, what's in your hand? I think I also really believe in looking at what resources you have to hand. Are you good at doing hair? Are you good at cooking? Do you like babysitting? Like, what are some simple things that you can do to earn a little bit more money? Now, if you cancel the subscriptions and the things that you don't need, and you look at simple ways to make more money, before you know it, you're going to have a lot more money in the pot to be able to spend on the things that you need and break through that barrier so you can move closer to your goals. So have a look at your finances and see where you can save. Also, if you don't already have a budget, I would highly recommend, and I'm going to do a video on this, just how to create a budget. I would highly recommend you starting to budget. So don't just get your pay and just start spending things, but set a budget and stick to it and be disciplined. If you have a lot of debt, I would say focus on clearing the debt before you start new things. And there are lots of techniques that you can use to clear debt. It will mean that you may have to sacrifice some of the luxuries for a little while. However, in the long run, that's going to benefit you. So if you have any debt, focus on clearing that. Then look at how you can save and look at how you can bring a little bit in, and make sure you budget and stick to the budget. And before you know it, you'll see that you actually have more money than you did before and then you thought you had. So you can move forward and break through that barrier. Number 4, one barrier that people face a lot is not knowing where to start. So you could have an idea, you could have a passion, but you just don't know where to start. You could be like me that has multiple ideas simultaneously. And it's like, okay, which one do I do? Where do I start? Well, the first thing I would say is, if you are like me and you have multiple ideas, you need to focus on one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Focus on one thing at a time. So if you say, I want to create a YouTube channel, but then I want to get good on Instagram, but I also want to get good on TikTok, don't try and do them all at the same time. Say, okay, let me focus on YouTube first, or Instagram, or whichever, and let me learn everything that I need to know to get me into a position where I can be creating quality content on a regular basis. And when I've built that up and I've looked at all the other areas, I can start on something else. So firstly, starting with one thing at a time, and then you know your starting point. Secondly, what I would say is write down everything. If you have an idea, write down everything that you need to do to achieve that goal and that idea, and then just order them. So when you put them in order, you'll know which one to start with. Say you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Let's just use YouTube because I'm on YouTube. firstly, you'd have to decide, well, what topic do I want to talk about? So don't start filming until you know what topic you want to talk about. Then you'd have to think, and actually, who am I talking to? So who is my target audience? Who are the people that I'm trying to reach? Then what sort of content do you want to create? Which area do you want to focus on? Then how do I set up my YouTube channel, and what do I need to know in terms of dimensions and graphics and things like that? So you would write down all the steps that you need to start, and then you order them so you know what you need to do first. Now, on top of that, or before that, you would do your research, right? So you'd have a look into, okay, if this is what I want to do, let me do the research, let me understand, let me write down all the things that I need to know, and then let me order them. And then you can start. If you're not sure where to start, you could also speak to somebody who has already done what you want to do and say to them, where did you start? I think sometimes we overlook the obvious things and we can make it really complicated. If you want to start a business, speak to somebody who you have seen is successful in that area, or read their story, or look at their journey and see where they started, and try and follow a similar path. You're not going to do the exact same things that they've done, but at least it gives you a little blueprint that you can then modify as you move on. And once you do that, you will break through that barrier and you will start what you need to start, and you'll be on your way to achieving your goals. And number 5, a barrier that most of us have faced, if not all of us at one point in our lives, is fear. Being too scared to do something. What if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if people laugh at me? You know, what if I don't understand? What if I don't get it? I'm scared. Actually, let me not do it. It will hold you back. It's a massive, massive barrier. And I think one of the ways that I overcome fear personally is I think about, what would my life be like if I did nothing? So if I chose to live in fear and just carry on the way that I am now, what would my life be like? Or what would my life be like if I tried and I was successful? Or even if I failed? Even if I failed, what would I learn? And I think you just have to ask yourself those questions and be honest. Oftentimes, we want to pursue a goal because it's going to have a massively positive effect on our lives. If we're too scared to do that, then we're going to stay in the same position that we're in, and we're going to be miserable. So you have to look at what you stand to lose, but what you stand to gain. And often what you stand to gain outweighs what you stand to lose. And you really do have to feel the fear and do it anyway. But if you look back at the other points that I said about doing research, about getting a mentor, about having counseling, about putting things in order, about regaining some of your time, about gaining more finance, that is really going to put you in such a strong position to look fear in the face and say, no, actually, I'm ready for this. I'm prepared. I've done what I need to do and I'm moving forward. So think about what your life would be like if you did nothing. And think about what your life could be like if you did something. Think about all the other things that you've done to prepare, and how you've upskilled and how you've boosted your confidence, and feel the fear and do it anyway. There's no other way of facing fear than head on, in my opinion. It's okay to acknowledge that you're afraid. Everybody gets afraid, but you can still move forward and be afraid. So I just want to encourage you to feel the fear and do it anyway. So there you have it. 5 barriers that can sometimes block your path to achieving your goals and ultimately achieving success, and some practical tips on how you can overcome those barriers. If you have any questions, if there's anything that you would like me to explain or expand on again, please drop me a note in the comments and I will respond to that. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end. I hope this has been useful. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care, God bless, and I will see you soon.